That's right, I am. I'm out here on pre-grid with this beautiful Austin-Healey. I've got Kevin here. Kevin, you're about to fire up, but tell me about racing on this track.
It's an amazing track. I love it. It's beautiful. The weather's amazing. It doesn't get any better.
And I know you're here for qualifying and a great time, but you get a little competitive out there, right?
Oh yeah, we like to race, but everybody's very careful. So we race hard, but we're careful with our cars.
Wonderful, have a great time. I'm gonna head down over here to number 39. Now this track, actually this car, I was just talking to him earlier, they just finished the build about 4 weeks ago. So this is the first time this car is gonna head out on this track in quite a few years, correct?
Quite a while. It's raced here 52 years ago this weekend.
That's incredible. So it's gonna be quite the feeling for you to get it out there on the track, right?
We're just happy to be here.
Wonderful. We'll have a great time out there. Let's head down, see if we can get one more car in. I've got Robert here in the 163. Robert, you were at Velocity last year. Tell me about what a first-class event this is.
Listen, Jeff O'Neill's put on the absolute finest vintage race weekend every year. I mean, you look around this track right now, and these are all museum-quality pieces. If you're not here this year, you better be here next year, because this is a fun event.
Well, you heard it from himself. If you're not here this year, make plans to come next year. You've got to see these cars in person, but they're firing them up. So, Johnny, let's head back to you for some racing.
Great stuff, Taylor. Excellent stuff from Kev as well. Thank you, boys and girls, and we'll be with you throughout the day. I'm Jonathan Green, and yes, I've had various different guests already. I'm hoping to have some more. Alan Benjamin's had to run off because he's got to go and get his car prepared. He'll be racing at 12:30. We're also waiting for the first appearance of the great Mario Andretti. It doesn't get any better than that. But coming up next, we'll have Group 4, and that's 1956 to 1962 production GT cars. Now, for many, back in the day, back in the late 50s, this was probably the first way of getting into motor racing, or at least the most, or least expensive way of getting into motor racing. And you could take your street car and make a few modifications and be on the track at the weekends. So basically it was a case of getting out your production car, not souping it up. That wasn't the point back in the day. It was more a case of maybe putting on a special set of tires, or maybe souping it up a little bit. But basically these were production cars ready to go, and it was small displacement engines dominated by Porsche, while the likes of Shelby and Shelby Cobra was trying to take a bite out of what was Ferrari's dominance at the time. Ferrari were definitely the mark of the day in the late 50s, early 60s, and so there were many attempts in this era to try to take on that might and pull it off. And in fact, here in the States, the championship was created in 1951 from existing SCCA events until 1953, when a single championship was awarded with points paid based on the finishing position within each class. And beginning in 1954, champions were named in each class. So we were starting to get sort of, if you like, the more professional style SCCA look towards it. And in terms of examples from this group, you're looking at Aston Martins, Austin-Healey's, Corvettes, obviously from the States. I mentioned Ferrari, the Ferrari 250 GT or GTO, Jaguar XK, 150S's, E-Types, AC-Bristols, Alfa Romeos, Giulettas. We had Lars Mapstead in here earlier talking about that Alfa Romeo. We'll see him in action. Austin-Healey Sprites, the odd Fiat Abarth, Lotus Elites, MGAs, Morgans, Porsches, 356s, Carreras, Sunbeams, Sunbeam Alpines, Triumph, TR3s, TR4s. So basically a smorgasbord of small sports cars from around the world in this group, but a huge group, I may add, as you can see right in front of you. Really looking forward to seeing these guys in action. And a lot of history here. Pace car out on track. There's the 173 right behind it. That's the Ferrari 250 GTO. That's the Berlinetta from 1961. Absolutely gorgeous. Look forward to seeing that. And as you can see, people dotted around the hills here amongst the corkscrew and around looking down a great place to watch. If you're here at the venue, definitely head up to the corkscrew at some point this weekend, because there's so much to see, but it's a great vantage point. If you go to the bottom of the corkscrew and look up, you really do get a sense of just how steep that drop is. Rob Walton is the man driving that Ferrari from 1961, that 250 GT SWB Berlinetta, and it was the fourth of 24 in 1961 of the competition Berlinettas. It's new to Walter Lambert from Switzerland, who did 4 hill climb races in its first month since it was produced. So not a bad history straight off the bat for that Berlinetta, but here it is in 2022. Great to see it here. And the pace car pulling off now as we get ready for our first action from Group 4. A massive field, and we'll try to get through as many as we can. But like I said, if we don't see every car in this particular instance, don't worry. Here we go then. It's Group 4 production GT cars. Green flag waves, and away goes that Ferrari at the front. And into Andretti curve for the first time. A very tough corner. It's downhill, off camber on the exit, so you don't want to go too wide. And that's that lovely 49, the Porsche Abarth Carrera. Very distinctive in the silver colors. And we've got a bunch of Porsches and Alfas out there. Got the odd MGA and MG out there as well. And we've got the old Austin-Healey Sprite, one of my favorites out there. Peter Smith at the wheel of that from Del Mar, California. But already the Ferrari starting to pull away in that number 173. But being chased by a much smaller car. Holding his own, I can see that. Doing a good job. Now this car that you're looking at, the car leading, was basically repaired back in 1962 and then had Swiss, German and Italian ownership prior to 2003 when it was sold to Bobby Rahal. And it's pretty interesting because it's about to go up the Rahal Straight. So there's a nice little crossover there. Bobby Rahal with the straight named after him, and he once owned this car. Coming into turn 11 then, here at Laguna. I promise you, the weather is changing. The fog is lifting. And how about this? We've had a lead change too. And our third place car, that's the 39. That's the 1962 MGA Roadster of Scott Brown. We've got a really good battle at the front here between those two. Third place car is that number 39, that Roadster. So we'll keep an eye on that. We've also got the 163 coming in. That's the Alfa Romeo Giuletta, and that's Robert Stoker at the wheel. For Romeo, blazoned on the side. Just behind him is that number 57, Abarth Porsche. That's a 1961 version. So Kevin Adair then leading the way from Rob Walton. Scott Brown in third place in the 39 MGA. And behind him, Robert Stoker in the 163, the Alfa Romeo Giulietta. Jeffrey O'Neill, we've mentioned him already. We've had Ryan Turry in here, but he's out again. Is Jeff in the number 20. He races a lot of his own cars, but also is quite prepared, as you heard from Ryan, to jump in a Mini, jump in another car and give it a spin. And he's out there again. Jeffrey O'Neill 1957. Coming into shot, mentioned already, the Abarth. William Lyon from Newport Beach, California. Now this 1961 Porsche Abarth is one of 20 cars Porsche had specially built under the direction of Carlo Abarth. Yes, you know the name, but do you know the history? Carlo Abarth. The cars were lighter, more aerodynamic versions of the 356, and that's why it's that distinctive look of the 356. But it was just basically Abarth made it into a much lighter version and a little bit more aerodynamic, to call it the Carrera GT. It had Italian aluminium coachwork, which made them very competitive in racing trim. And of course, in this era, Trans Am was soon to follow suit. It was all about making the cars as light as possible to go racing. There's the 1956 Porsche Speedster, a 356A Speedster. And another 1961 Abarth there coming through shot. There he is with the orange front. Interestingly enough, the Carrera Abarths are one of the rarest Porsches. Only 21 were made. So that one you just saw there, the number 49, is one of just 21 ever made. So field starting to spread out here. A wonderful, wonderful look across the paddock as we look at the crowd starting to file in here. Absolutely delightful to see. We've got action on track and off track. Here's that Ferrari, number 20. 7 laps to go. I think that's Jeffrey O'Neill out there. Got some late entries, so there's a couple of cars that are zipping by that I'm not familiar with, or at least are not on my list. That's I know that the Alfa Romeo GTZ is definitely David Perkins at the wheel. 1964 car, beautiful. That particular car, that 96 Alfa Romeo. David Perkins, as I mentioned, from Park City, Utah, driving it. It was delivered in 1965 to Alfa Romeo France in red with black interior and stayed in France until October 1990, and then was purchased by Tony van der Velden and exported to the Netherlands. Then in March 1993 it was sold to a collector in Japan and then sold again in 2000 to an Alfa Romeo collector in California. Sold again in 2014 and then fully restored and sold in 19 to the current owner who got the issued FIA papers for it. So it's had a storied history and gone all around the world and has raced at Sonoma and here at Monterey as well. Look at that. Here comes that 614. Beautiful. Chevrolet 614. Number 614, I should say. This arc, whoa, look at him fighting it too. Brilliant stuff. Really working the wheel there. That's one of the cars that isn't actually on my entry list. I'm going to have to do some digging for that one. We know it's a Chevrolet, but he was fighting it all the way. Rob Welton then leading the way in the 173 ahead of Kevin Adair in the number 171. There's the 64. It's the Alfa Romeo Giulia Spider. Dave Brengel at the wheel, the man from San Diego, California. And that Alfa is an ex-factory Alfa from 1965. It raced in the SCCA at the Dean Brengel in 65, finished 4th in the divisional points, and later raced by Dave and Kathy Rice in the SCCA on the West Coast throughout the 70s, 80s and 90s. And here's that number 3. As we look at production GT cars from 1956 to 1962. And that's Andrew Cannon at the wheel of the number 3, the Alfa Romeo GTZ from 1964. And just behind him, the 718. The Turner 950S from 1958, Daniel Schwartz in that tiny little thing, but it's like a little mini, doesn't it? But it's actually a Turner. Pretty little thing too. Sounds good too. And like I said, if you're at the event, please come down. We'll try over the live stream to get you as close to the cars as possible. But if you're here at the event, do come on down to the paddock and take a closer look at some of these cars, like that Turner. Manufactured in 1958, that Turner in Wolverhampton in England, not far from where I was born, and imported to Detroit. And sold to Alex Freed of Smiths Creek, Missouri. And raced a lot of events in the Midwest in the 70s. Until it blew an engine and then was passed on to Arthur Doman. And the man racing it right now, Daniel Schwartz from Bakersfield, California. Home, of course, of Jeff Gordon, who pretty much did pretty good as a racing driver, I seem to remember. And you can see some of the displays to the left there. There's a nice McLaren layout too, just at the top of the paddock. If you're here, come down and see that. Well worth a look. Rob Walton continuing to dominate here in Group 4. Kevin Adair in 2nd place and Robert Stoker in 3rd. Jeffrey O'Neill's moved up to 4th place. He was down in, 6th? And he's moved up. Rob Walton, another familiar face for those who've been involved in historic racing for some time. In that Berlinetta, who's led pretty much in that Ferrari 250 GT from the get-go. And that car, a 1961, so right in the middle of this production GT class in terms of the years we're covering, which is 1956 to 1962, and he's pulled well ahead of the chasing field. Interesting rear end. It's almost like they gave in. Didn't want to make it too stylish, but it was a look. Not my favorite look, mind you, but it was a look. Starting to see the Monterey Hills now, finally. 3 laps to go then. High above Laguna Seca. Now the man driving, Rob Walton, at the front is from Scottsdale, Arizona. And as I mentioned earlier, this Ferrari you're seeing leading the way is the 4th of 24 competition Berlinetta is built in 1961. Here comes the MGA. There's the number 49 coming through shot. That 1961 Porsche Abarth. Ransom Webster at the wheel. Webster currently in, what, 7th place at the moment in that number 49. Hearing a beautiful sound of one of the Trans Am cars just lighting up his engine as he gets some fuel before he gets ready to go out. High above the rainy curve, a lovely view there coming through the woods. And a quick look up the hill to the corkscrew yet again. And Rob Walton under pressure now. 2 to go. We had a question on social media about just how exhausted or tired some of the drivers would get driving these big wheel, heavy, unforgiving, drum braked in some versions. I'm going to find the answer to that. We're going to have some drivers in without as the day goes on, and so I'll get to the bottom of that. If you're interested, if you're tuning in, just want to remind you that we've got a great display of rally cars here, some real classic Group B rally cars, and to pedal them, why not get some of the greats? So we've got Alistair McRae, who of course is in that lineage of Jim McRae, Colin McRae, Alistair McRae, and his son Max McRae is here as well. And Max, I just spoke to him yesterday, he's only a kid, but is starting, if you'd like, to follow in the footsteps of the rest of the McRae family, and is starting to do rally himself. He's hoping to do the Junior Rally Championship next year, so I'm hoping to bring him into the booth. Also, James Rimmer is here from Rallycross fame, and he, of course, is the son of Steve Rimmer, who runs Dirtfish. And so we'll be talking more about some rally cars here. We've got one of Travis Pastrana's ex-cars here. We've got a Richard Burns car here. And really looking forward to some rally coming up your way, as well as Formula One. We've hardly mentioned Formula One because we've been talking about Mario Andretti, because he's going to go out and get his chance to race a Formula One car. Really looking forward to seeing that. Mario about to get into action in a moment, as we can conclude our final lap. And we take a look at car number 20, heading towards the checkered flag. So Rob Walton's going to take this. Jeffrey O'Neill's done a good job. He's pedalled it all the way up to 2nd place. So not only is he organising the event, but he's doing a pretty good job of racing too. Jeffrey up to 2nd place now in the number 20. And that is the Ferrari 250 GTO with O'Neill at the wheel. And he's chasing now down for the win. How about this? Here comes the leader, Rob Walton, but look who's behind him, Jeff O'Neill. And it's going to be Ferrari versus Ferrari for the finish here. Here comes O'Neill. He comes to the outside. And they're side by side, our leaders here in Group 4. O'Neill on the outside. He's not going to make it. He's not going to make it. No. Well, cuts him off, but here comes O'Neill. He's not afraid to throw that 250 around. Great stuff. Well, if you organise the event, you can race how you like. I absolutely adore it. Down the corkscrew, Zanardi fashion. Or Rossi fashion, whichever you prefer. 2-wheel or 4-wheel. O'Neill's got it. But can he beat Rob Walton to the line? They come to turn 11, the final corner here in Group 4. A cracking finish to this. 2 Ferraris going at it as it should be. Rob Walton goes wide. O'Neill's got the power, but he's not going to make it to the line, or is he? Walton takes the checkered flag, and O'Neill chases him home, but almost got it at the line, and made a huge attempt at the corkscrew to get past. Well done, Jeff O'Neill. Race it like you stole it. But Rob Walton is our 250 winner. what a great display of racing, and just fantastic. I think Jeff enjoyed that. Well done.